King of Kings? Hi, welcome back to our Director's Cuts here at Regal Heights. As we've been going through the book of Daniel, we have a few references of the tyrant king Nebuchadnezzar called the King of Kings. Now, some people have falsely taken that to be some sort of divine title because we know that our Jesus Christ, we call him the King of Kings. What that phrase simply means is that there are other kings that exist, but then those kings have a king. And so whereas Jesus is our king overall, everybody has different authorities and whatnot on the earth, but he is overall. In the same way in the Babylonian Empire, Nebuchadnezzar was really the first pure king of kings. And this is important when you go back even to the first statue, the one of the head of pure gold, is because before this, most of the Middle East was a bunch of basically city-states. You know, Greece was kind of like that at the time too, where you had a king and a nobility and different magistrates in each city that had its own realm for farmland and other things like that. And they would often be independent. And so they'd be seen as like a city-state. You know, Judah could have been, before this, seen as more of a city-state because you had Jerusalem and then the surrounding Judea for their farmland with little towns. That could have been considered a city-state versus an actual country. And so with that, what would happen is they would overtake these kings, these kingdoms, and someone like Nebuchadnezzar, who was strong, would say, you pay homage to me, and you use your army when I say, and then you can run your little city the way that you want to. So it's not like Nebuchadnezzar had a day-to-day administrative role in each of the kingdoms that he took, unless they rebelled. If a king submitted to him, it would just be like that king saying, okay, this guy won't attack me, but then at least I'll have this guy's protection if I pay him a certain amount of money, and then he'll leave us alone, except for when we need to go on military campaigns with him. And so that's why he was called King of Kings, because that is what he was. If a kingdom did not subject to him, he would depose that king and put in his own king with their own nobility as well. And so kind of like a federal and a provincial government, if you will, but one having sure authority. This is why Nebuchadnezzar was called that, being the pure king, is because whereas there was also in the nobility wise men, which were seen as elders, and in many city-states they were elected. They were elected. But in this case, we see that Nebuchadnezzar had appointed Daniel and his friends and many others. There still could have been some elected in his time, but it shows here that he had grasped control, because the elders, the nobility, used to be able to come to the king and say, this isn't a wise law, you need to repeal that. And the king would be forced to listen. Well, Nebuchadnezzar had such purity and power that he did not need to listen to them if he did not want to. So society back then was kind of leveled in certain ways, and it was hard for people to break from one class into the other. So there were different classes in different positions. So we have the King of Kings, then we have local kings and their nobility. And the nobility would have had all those fancy names we talked about on Monday, from military commanders to your elders to whoever. Then you'd have your average citizens who were bricklayers, stonemasons, artisans, and then you'd have your slaves. Well, a slave would rarely ever to get ahead in life. But if an average citizen wanted to get ahead, proving themselves in the military or proving themselves in a wisdom point of view would be about the only way to try to break through to that. There was no marrying into success back then. And so with that, this was hard for the average person to get ahead. And the military was often the best way to do so. Or if someone was gifted in a very certain area, maybe they might get away into the priesthood or be working as a lower magistrate for a magistrate, becoming a magistrate and working themselves up. Difficult days, given that most of the economy was based upon agriculture. And so that was the average person's life, was that about toiling in the dirt. Well, I hope that helps you understand the society structure, to understand how important it was for Daniel to be where he was and how he was born as a noble, why he was taken from one noble position and installed in the next, because that was actually pretty seamless. And so I hope this helps you to kind of wrap your head around how God is working through, because if you know the circumstances to which these people live in, it helps you understand exactly what God is doing in their lives as we go through Daniel verse by verse. Well, thank you for tuning in. God bless you. Have a great day.